All right, now that we have modeling curves, editing curves, making curves, breaking curves, putting points in curves, everything down as far as curves go, let's use them in a practical application that students often do in the Atypical Modeling 1 class every time. I give this assignment all the time too. Just it's one of those things that you can start wrapping your head around when using curves. So that might be this. So let's take this and make a linear curve, and now X on the keyboard will snap a curve to this actual grid. Then I'm going to go over to here. Okay. And I'm going to make that one more time here. But now I want to switch over to a 3 cubic curve. So I can hit G on the keyboard, and G will allow me to go back into the curve system without going over to the select tool. Okay. I can now use 3 cubic, however, so I still had to click over here. It's not very much of a shortcut. I can start here, and now I can kind of get a new point where I make a curve. Okay, and where I place that curve, it doesn't really matter too much. I'm going to end up probably editing it. It's very hard to kind of judge curves right off the bat, so oftentimes I'll draw this out and then I'll edit it after fact. So what I'm going to try to do here is make a profile. And the profile, if you think about it, looks a little strange. But what it truly is the ability to have the inside of a glass. Okay. So I drew that curve system out, and what I want to do now is kind of edit this a little bit, and you can edit it after the fact when I show you the next trick, but for right now I'm just kind of straightening this out a little bit. And here's a good workflow is you use up on the keyboard, we'll go to the next curve point, and then you can just edit this curve all day long without worrying about trying to figure out what vertice makes up what curve. So in this case I have to go down on the keyboard. Because that vertice right there looked like it actually attached to the other one, but it didn't. Okay, and I can keep continuing to edit this all day long. But what I want to do is show you that you can do that after the fact too. So I'm going to make a new linear curve, X on the keyboard, and X on the keyboard. So there we go. We got several curves out there, and they all need to be attached. Okay, so I got this one and this one. I have to do these one at a time, however. I can attach this just like that. G on the keyboard is last command, so it allows me to attach it. And now what I have is a profile of some kind of maybe milk jug. We'll use that. And this is what it looks like inside the perspective window. So now I can go to edit curves, or no, surfaces, sorry. Surfaces, revolve, square box. And what I use is always polygons. I'm not really a NURB type modeler, so I can choose polygons. And what I usually do is quads, and I always use count in most cases. There is some times that I use general or fit, but count really does help with new modelers. I would highly suggest you maybe look into these and play around with them a little bit, but for right now, for my lesson, I'm just going to say count, and I'm going to say maybe 500. Yeah, I'll leave it there, and I'll revolve it around. So this is what I get, and if I hit 6 on the keyboard, I get this shape. Now certainly what will happen is when I go into surfaces and revolve and choose a higher polygon structure, let's say polygons, quads, count, and say almost 1,000 or 1,000, I'll get something that best represents that curve. Okay, and then later on I can clean it up if I wanted to reduce the polygon count. But here's what you do. You take the surface and turn it off, and then you can highlight the curve by right-clicking on the curve, go to control vertice. And when you edit this, it'll edit the geometry as you go. So you can really kind of tweak out this system and get some nice deformations this way. So it's married to that curve now. Okay. When you want it unmarried, you just make a duplicate of it. You go to object mode, highlight it. You have to turn back on surfaces, however, and Command D or Control D on the keyboard with a PC. And there we go. Incidentally, to clean it up, all you do is have to double click on a curve, Control right click, and say to edge loop, and delete. And you can do that, you know, across the whole surface if you wanted to. Like I don't need this curve or this edge, and etc. and so forth. So I can hold Control right click, to edge loop, and delete, and get rid of those. All right, that's a practical application for curves. Please move on to the next video.